You said, what are you bringing to the table? Men are tired. I'm not bringing nothing to the table, baby. Sprinkle, sprinkle. If you want a woman to bring something to the table, go to IHOP. Go to the restaurant where you can tip her, baby. Sprinkle, sprinkle.
People, they try to push a certain narrative. I stand for traditional feminism, the equal rights and opportunity in a society and in political systems and in jobs and stuff like that for women. I stand for that for sure, right? There's a difference between that and modern day feminism, especially when it comes to relationships. Modern day feminism is pushing and telling women you don't need a man, that men shouldn't lead. Don't be a traditional woman. But he should still be a traditional man, though, you know? He's still gotta pay for dates and take you out and treat you like a lady. But you don't gotta treat him like the man, right? He should accept you. You know, go have fun with as many men as you want. He should still accept you for you and love you for you. Go out there and dress how you want to dress. If you want to show the nip, show the nip. He should still treat you like a wife. This is absolutely bananas. It's absolutely delusional. And it's gonna keep women single for a very long time, bro. Until you wake up and realize, no, it don't work like that.
Dating, let me be more specific. First wave feminism was necessary. It gave women the right to be legally recognized as persons, the right to own property, the right to vote, employment rights, all the good stuff that I think we can all agree that women should have, except Pearl.
Why women shouldn't vote? Yes.
But everything that followed first wave feminism has actually backfired in many ways. And one of the ways it has backfired is hookup culture. Feminism grew substantially in the 1960s along with the sexual revolution, with feminists arguing that a woman should have complete control over her own body. The sexual revolution was successful in changing societal norms and casual sex became socially acceptable. Also at this time in the 1960s, the pill became available, which further allowed women to separate procreation from sex. Over the decades, the effects of the sexual revolution have only amplified, and it has had a negative effect on modern dating and culture as a whole. Because casual sex has become the norm, many women who are looking for committed relationships with men are having a hard time in the dating pool because a significant portion of men are only interested in casual sex. Surprise, surprise. I'm not a research poll about online dating. 13% of women said they use dating apps to find a partner for casual sex, while 31% of men said they use it for the same reason. Economists Betsy Stevenson and Justin Wolfers analyzed the happiness trends of Americans and Europeans between 1970 and 2005, and they found a surprising result. Women rated their overall life satisfaction higher than men in the 1970s. Thereafter, women's happiness scores have decreased, while men's scores have stayed roughly stable. By the 1990s, women were less happy than men, and this largely has to do with the change in gender roles as a result of feminism.
Here's why hookup culture is probably not the best thing for your heart or your soul. Whenever we have sex with someone, we're creating this chemical called oxytocin, and oxytocin helps us to bond with people. So even when you think that you're having sex with someone just for the fun of it, what you're doing is bonding with them. And there's been studies that show that people that grew up in the hookup culture have something called bonding ruptures. And so what that means is you bond with someone and then you rupture. You bond with someone and then you rupture, meaning that you're creating these bonds and then tearing them apart by not continuing the relationship. Oftentimes people are going through heartbreak and they don't really realize it. And then the part about your soul is the house of your emotions. You're dysregulating yourself and dysregulating your emotions when you're doing this bonded rupture.
Another unintentional trees around the world.
Feminism in Korea is at another level, and they have channeled this energy of going against the patriarchy into simply just not partaking in their womanliness within the society, in some ways going as extreme as wanting to kill men. The level of feminism can be best represented by the 4P movement, not B as in the letter B, but the term P, which means to be against or not. First, starting with P hon, which means no marriage, P yone, which means no dating, P chulsan, no kids, and P sex, which means no sex.
And many
not noticed a decrease in the men coming up to Michelle section of my life. In fact, I've noticed an increase. And I personally would think that it would be decreased with the amount of men saying, we're just not going up to women anymore.
Okay, this is like people saying it's snowing where I am because it's snowing where I am, global warming doesn't exist. What are you talking about? Just because you don't see it as a hyper-attractive woman.
You kind of look good.
Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not actually happening. You have to think, what are the stats out right now? How many people are actually checking out of dating? If you look at all the studies, men as a whole have been checking out of dating in large numbers. In fact, this has been one of the most recent findings. What is it? 69% of men report being single, where only 34% of women report being single. It was like 51% of men say they lost all interest in dating altogether, in large part because it feels unwelcoming, because they feel like, so it doesn't matter what your personal experience is, even if you want to go off of that. What the numbers show is that men as a whole have been approaching a lot less. And the very few times that they do choose to do so, they just do it on online dating.
A lot of guys are struggling because women have higher standards now, and male attention is worth nothing nowadays.
So in other words, the dating sites made the rich richer, the poor poorer.
Yes.
It's like stimulus checks.
Interesting.
A lot of guys don't even know what they're up against in the current dating marketplace as to like why it's so competitive. So what I've always said, like feminism, what it's inadvertently done, it's actually given all the leverage to the top 5% of men.
Yeah.
Because what happens is woman gets her own career, makes more money, becomes successful. Well, now a large pool of candidates that would have been a great husband and or potential boyfriend, this guy doesn't make.
That's the hypergamy factor.
Yeah,
they want to date their equal or above.
Exactly, right? So we know women on a balanced probabilities do not date below their socioeconomic status. They want to date at least bare minimum where they're at, or preferably above. So as women make more money, become more successful, now their pool of men drops down with it, and they want to date up. So it's given the leverage inadvertently to a lot of the higher status men.
Regardless of what the story,
It's like, damn.
men feeling disaffected has become such a pervasive problem that movements like the Passport Bros, MGTOW, Red Pill have all been born, which focused on men's issues in society and in the dating sphere.
Has feminism ruined dating? A question that sparks countless debates. We're here to explore this topic, to delve deep into the societal shift from the first wave of feminism, a movement that championed women's rights to work and vote, to the present-day feminism. We aim to uncover how this progression has influenced dating culture, and whether it's for better or worse. Dive into this intriguing discussion as we compare the first wave of feminism to modern-day feminism. First wave feminism, a revolutionary movement that brought about significant change. This wave, which spanned from the late 19th to the early 20th century, was a period of profound transformation, a time when women began to rally for their rights and demand equality. The primary goal of first-wave feminism was suffrage, the right to vote. Women wanted a say in the policies that governed their lives, and they were willing to fight for it. They marched, they wrote, they spoke, and they refused to be silenced. And their efforts bore fruit when in 1920, the 19th Amendment was passed in the United States, granting women the right to vote. But their fight didn't stop at the ballot box. First-wave feminists also sought economic equality. They advocated for property rights and equal pay, challenging the notion that women were economically dependent on men. They strived to break the barriers that prevented women from joining the workforce, arguing that women should have the same opportunities as men to earn a living. And how did all this impact the dating scene? Well, it introduced a new dynamic. Prior to this era, women were largely viewed as property, their marriages often arranged for economic or social gain. But as women began to claim their independence, they also began to assert their right to choose their own partners. Love and compatibility started to take precedence over economic considerations. Women were no longer tied to men for survival. They could survive and thrive on their own. Now, this isn't to say that everything was perfect. Women still faced significant hurdles and discrimination. But the first wave of feminism marked a crucial turning point, a time when women began to assert their rights and demand equality. It was a time of empowerment, of liberation, of progress. This wave of feminism brought about an era of equality and liberation, but how does it compare to modern-day feminism? Fast forward to today, and we see a very different picture of feminism. Unlike the first wave, which was focused on equal rights and opportunities, modern-day feminism has taken a somewhat different turn. There's been a shift from fighting for equality to advocating for a hookup culture. This culture, while seemingly promoting freedom and choice, has inadvertently led to a decline in women's happiness scores between the years of 1970 and 2005. By the 1990s, women's happiness scores had even fallen below men's. The hookup culture has also changed the dynamics of dating. Men are less willing to commit to one partner, knowing that women have the freedom to explore multiple relationships. The mantra of my body, my choice has been embraced. But this also means that men too have the right to make their choices, including the choice not to participate in the hookup culture. Or to say no to a woman's advances without being called gay, or without having a false allegation pressed against him, simply because he didn't give her what she wanted. With the rise of dating apps, casual flings have become the norm over long-term relationships. This often leads to complicated situations where one partner develops feelings that aren't reciprocated. These bond ruptures, where connections formed during intimate encounters are abruptly discarded, can be soul-destroying for both men and women. Modern-day feminism, unfortunately, has also been associated with men hating. The fight for equal rights has been overshadowed by chants of "I don't need no man" or even "K-ill all man." This has led to a perception of feminists as being mean, rather than champions of equality. Moreover, modern-day feminism seems to have benefited the top 20% of men, while leaving the bottom 80% struggling. The high standards set by many modern women often exclude men who could make great partners and fathers. Ironically, these women often still choose partners who do not meet their own high standards. As a result, male virginity percentages are rising in Western society, as only a small percentage of men are active in the dating scene. Modern-day feminism has certainly changed the dating landscape, but has it been for the better? The dating scene today is a far cry from what it used to be. Thanks to modern-day feminism, one of the most evident impacts of this shift is the rise of unrealistic standards. The average modern woman's expectations can be impossibly high, often weeding out men who could have been great husbands and fathers. This expectation for perfection may be rooted in the feminist ideal of independence, but it's taken a toll on the dating landscape. In this new world, it's often the top 20% of men who reap the benefits. These are the men who meet these sky-high standards, or the proverbial Chads and Tyrones of the dating world. They are the ones who are most sought after, leaving the rest of the male population in the dust. However, the irony lies in the fact that these Chads and Tyrones often don't meet the women's own outlined standards. Yet they are still chosen, leaving a large percentage of men feeling sidelined and ignored. This has led to a significant rise in male virginity percentages. The reality is, while these women are having their fun with the top 20%, they still expect the nice guy to wait on the sidelines. But here's the kicker. Even if that guy did wait, there's a good chance she wouldn't respect him if she entered a relationship with him. This is a clear reflection of the skewed dynamics that modern-day feminism has introduced into the dating world. But let's not forget that feminism was never intended to be a man-hating movement. However, some modern interpretations have twisted it into something that it wasn't meant to be, leading to a dating scene that can often feel like a battlefield. So, has feminism ruined dating? Yes, it has. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the rights and freedoms won by the first wave of feminism to the evolution of modern-day feminism and its impact on dating and relationships. We've seen how the rise of hookup culture, often associated with the fight for sexual liberation, has not necessarily led to increased happiness for women. In fact, it has caused a shift in dynamics that can sometimes lead to emotional turmoil and broken bonds for both men and women. We've also examined the darker side of modern feminism, where the fight for equality has morphed into men-hating rhetoric, creating a divide rather than promoting unity and mutual respect. And finally, we've looked at how certain aspects of modern feminism have inadvertently given more leverage to the top 20% of men, leaving many others struggling in the dating scene. It's our responsibility to keep questioning, keep learning, and keep open dialogues about these topics. Remember to smash that like button, subscribe with bell notifications, and share this video. Until next time, keep the conversation going.